Hey everybody, it's Vanessa, the Crafty Gemini, and welcome to Whip Wednesday, episode number 99. I can hardly believe I've almost done 100 of these episodes in the past couple years. So welcome everybody. If you can see me and hear me, let me know where you are tuning in from in the chat box below, whether you're catching us on Facebook or on the Crafty Gemini YouTube channel. I'm looking at the chat right here. I see we got a bunch of friends tuning in. Pat from Vegas is in the house, and Cheryl from Arizona, Diana from Massachusetts. Hi everybody. We're coming to y'all from my home crafting studio here in North Central Florida, where I am back from a quick weekend to the Dominican Republic to drop off my kids at summer camp over there. They have been having a blast. They went whitewater rafting yesterday and today. Well, my daughter yesterday and my son today. So they're having a good old time, and we're back here working and getting stuff done before we go back and pick them up. All right, looks good. Diana is in the house from Maryland, or Massachusetts, I'm sorry. Mary from Maryland. Okay, good. Y'all can see me and hear me. Hi, Jackie, tuning in from New York. She says loud and clear. Great. All right, so first things first. While y'all are watching me and looking at me wearing this t-shirt, this is our Magic Formula t-shirt for sewing, where it says fabric and thread equals magic, and these t-shirts on our website in our online shop are actually on sale. It's just this week. I think the sale ends on Sunday night at midnight, but we don't have so many t-shirts of each of the sizes. So if you want to check and if your t-shirt or your size t-shirt is in stock, click the link in the description box below, and I have the t-shirts linked there for you. Again, it says it's exactly like how mine looks. The same color, same everything. This is the size large. I wear them both, large and extra large, depending on what I need it for. If I want it to be looser than this, I'll wear the extra large. If I want it to kind of just fit like a regular t-shirt to wear with jeans, then I'll wear the large. Okay, so they're on sale, and we have sizes small through 4XL right now. And they're unisex sizes. They're super soft. They're a blend. All the details and specs and all that stuff is in the product description page, so y'all can check those out. I know I plugged about this yesterday, I think on my Facebook and Instagram, and we sold a bunch. So there's not that many sizes left, and if you need one, go ahead and grab it. I see Margie is typing in the chat. She says the tee is so incredibly soft. It is. It's one of my faves, and I'm not going to lie, I have like 5. Probably 2 large, 2 extra large, and an extra one thrown in somewhere there in my closet for sure, because I wear them all the time. All right, so aside from that, let's go ahead and pop over to my over-the-shoulder camera shot here so we can talk about a new course. It's actually on pre-sale right now. So if you take advantage of the Chunky Wee Bag video course, and we'll talk about the bag in a second, this is not a Crafty Gemini pattern. This pattern is by Sam Hunter from Hunter's Design Studio, and it's actually one of the bags that we made at one of my recent bag making retreats that we do here in Florida. And so, if you went to the retreat in May, obviously you'll get free access to the course, because I told you all that. And that way, you know, you made it at the retreat, but you can also go back and make it again in case you forgot any of the steps and all that. So I will add those retreaters to the class. And if anybody else wants to sign up for it, it's actually on sale right now as part of the pre-sale, $10 off the regular price. A couple things to note, and we're going to get into specifics now with the bag. The pattern, because it's not a Crafty Gemini pattern, you need to purchase the pattern separately. The hard copy pattern we do sell in the shop. We have some left. If they sell out, they're just going to go to back order, and then we'll refill the orders and restock them so we can send them out to those of you that order on back order, but they are currently in stock right now as of the time that I'm speaking to you live, okay? So you need to purchase the hard copy pattern because some of the measurements and stuff like that, that's copyright protected, the whole pattern is, right? I won't be sharing in the video course. So you will not be able to complete the class or complete the bag without the pattern itself, even if you sign up for the course. Does that make sense? So hopefully that does. The link to purchase the pattern, if you don't already have it. I know many of you have already purchased the pattern from us. Some of you maybe have bought it from the designer herself years ago and never got around to making it. As long as you have the pattern already, you'll be able to sign up for the class and again save the $10 off the regular price. So because it is a pre-sale, the video lessons will be posted to your accounts, to your student accounts. For those of you that sign up between now and Friday, they'll be posted this Saturday, all right? July, I believe that's 22nd at noon time. So if you sign up now, you'll get enrolled in the course automatically. If you've signed up for any of my courses or clubs before, it's the same exact way. It's just you don't see the videos there yet. I have a little tag that says, you know, the videos will be posted here at that time, so you can check back on Saturday at noon, and then all the video lessons will be posted for you there. All right. Let's see. Sylvia's asking, when is my next retreat? We actually added one retreat for Labor Day weekend this year, September 1st through the 4th. So if you're interested in more information on that, Sylvia, shoot me an email. You can email us at bea@craftygemini.com or vanessa@craftygemini.com, and we'll get you the information so you can sign up on the lottery list. So we've pulled some people. Some people have declined their spots. Others have already signed up. So as we work through filling them, we'll be picking other names from the lottery list to make sure, that we get enough people who want to come. Okay, let's see. Oh, Valerie says, I have my pattern. I'm ready to go. I bought my course already too. Awesome. So the course to sign up, or the link for the course to sign up is in the description below, as well as the link to the hard copy pattern. And again, remember, it's not my pattern, so you got to buy the pattern separately. So let's talk a little bit about the bag project itself. The pattern instructions include how to make it in 3 different sizes: small, medium, and large. I have only made the small and the medium. The medium is even big for me. I don't really have a need for the large, but we'll talk a little bit about it. So this is the small. And there's some extra little embellishments and things, like the pattern has you do like a little corner right here that has like a contrasting piece of fabric. What I like to do with most projects is to like cut back on the embellishing for my students. Because this is such a beginner-friendly project, if you sign up for my course, we're going to make it like this. All flat, like one colored panel for the flap, one color for the main body, and then the same fabric that we use for the flap here is the accent pocket panel on the inside. So it's super beginner friendly in the sense that, we are sewing a slight curve at the flap, really simple, and I'll share with you my tips. Everything else is straight seams. There's no zippers. For those of you that don't like zippers, there are no zippers. There's no metal hardware. You don't have to buy any fancy things. The only extra thing besides like fabric and stabilizer, and we'll talk about that soon as well, is the closure. So the pattern gives you 2 different options: hook and loop, which is super simple. You can buy this stuff anywhere, and I think this one I got at Walmart. Make sure, this is a tip that I wanted to give for those of you that are signing up for the class, or if you ever are considering attaching some type of hook and loop tape, this happens to be the Velcro brand, to a sewing project. Number 1 most important thing, make sure that it says sew on, okay? Because even if you are at a craft store, if you're like at Joann's or something in the sewing section, when you come across this stuff, you'd be surprised how many of them are the sticky back, no sew. Like they market it as like, you don't have to sew. That stuff is super gummy on the back. You do not want to use any of that when it comes to an actual sewing bag project, okay? Because it will gum up your needle if you try to sew through it, okay? Make sure that it is a sew-on version of some type of hook and loop tape. And then of course, like this pack is 1 yard long, so 36 inches. So it's 1 yard, and the width is 3/4 of an inch wide, which is what the pattern recommends. If you have some at home and it's only 1/2 of an inch wide, if you're making the small, even the other one, you can still use it. Sometimes my students get so hung up on like, I have 3 other, hook and loop tape widths, but it's not that one. It's just for the closure, you'll be fine. But if you do want to go ahead and go to the store and grab a pack of this, something like this, you'll be fine as well, because you don't need much. You can see that for the small, we're just using a bit here and here. So the hook part is up here and the loop part is here, so it just closes like that. That's the small. On the medium size bag and the large as well, you're going to have 2 bits of it. Okay, so they're set up like this vertically and they close like that. And we'll talk about, in the class, I'll share step-by-step instructions on how we're measuring things to make sure that you end up with a closure that this part connects to exactly where that is, and it's not like off-centered, because that would be a mess, okay? Patty says, if you simply stick it on as a package indicates, it will come off eventually. Absolutely right. And she's talking about the hook and loop tape that is the stick-on. We do not want to deal with anything that's gummy on our fabric. You don't want to try and sew through it. Just make sure you get the sew-on version, and then you won't deal with anything. You can easily sew through this. For those of you that maybe have just a straight stitch sewing machine, the rest of the bag we're going to be sewing with just a straight stitch. Sometimes I know people say that you have to use a zigzag stitch for hook and loop tape, which is what I would recommend too if you have it. But if you don't, it's not a big deal. We still stitched it on with straight stitching on all of these, and they hold up really well. I'll share my tips in the video course on what you want to do if that's what you're going to be doing, okay? So easy peasy, just make sure it's not the stick-on kind. All right. Yes, Janelle was at the retreat and she made one of these. She says the medium holds a ton. It does. So this is the medium size one. And the measurements are about 8 inches across by 8 inches tall by 4 inches wide here. For those of you that may be considering the large, it's just 10 inches tall by 10 inches wide by 4 inches wide here, or deep here as well. So it's not that it's a lot wider in this area, but it is taller and wider in terms of the square front and back of the bag. When you open it up, you can see, different to the small size bag, the medium and the large are going to feature 2 pocket panels, okay? One on each side. The front one here only has one, and you can choose to put the pocket panel here against your body when you're wearing it, or in front like I did on this one. So those are options that you have. Now, I'm guessing the reason Sam designed it like this is that if you put in 2 pocket panels on such a small bag and then you go ahead and fill in the pockets, you're going to be eating up all the real estate space inside. And so then it kind of defeats the purpose of even having this big open pocket. So I like that there's only 1 pocket panel on the smaller one, so we can take advantage of using the interior space of the larger pocket opening for the bag, right, to use the bag. So on this one, we basically go through and measure our own spaces for how far apart you want to create the pockets in the panel itself. So I just put a couple pens here just to give y'all an idea so you can see. You can create pockets that are wide enough for you to put your zip or your phone in here like this. On the back, you can put it on the front panel as well like this. It's up to you, but there's so many different options to customize those interior pockets, especially if you plan to wear this chunky wee bag as like your everyday purse. I mean, you can pack a ton of stuff in here, okay? So that's the medium size. This is another medium-sized one, and I'm not sure if you can tell too much or not, but these two were made with different fusible interfacings. And of course, in the class, I talk all about, what you can use. I share with you 2 different options that I have already used, and it turned out great, which are these 2 right here. This one was made with Bosal Light Fusible Batting. I have linked to that in the description box below, both on Facebook and YouTube here in the description. And then this one was made with Bosal Duet Fusible Batting, okay? So this one was made with a double-sided fusible product, and this one with a single-side fusible product that is a little bit thinner, but you can see they both look great. This one has a little bit more drape. It's kind of a little bit floppier. I can kind of store it flat, but it still does stand up on its own, okay, while it's empty. So that's key. If you're looking for something that's going to give some good structure to the bag, either one of these products would work great. You can see how cute and boxy this one is. It has a little more structure than that one because the interfacing used is denser. It's a little bit denser, and because it's double-sided fusible, it's just going to have more body, and you can see how cute that looks. Now, a couple things to mention here. I mentioned it was a beginner-friendly project that doesn't have any zippers. It doesn't have any fancy metal hardware or anything like that. Another thing is that you can make this bag with just 2 fabrics. So if you're someone who struggles a lot with like matching fabric prints and it's like, oh no, I need 7 different fabrics that all go together. Even if you pick them out, you're like, where do I put which one and all that? Minimize all the thought and effort that goes into it. Just pick 2 fabrics that look good together. One is going to be used for the majority of the bag, including the strap if you want to. You can see that on this one, I swapped it out. It's so small, I had plenty of fabric left over, and so I went ahead and used the flap/accent fabric, the way that it's called in the pattern. It's typically the accent fabric is going to be used to make the flap, the exterior part of the flap that you see when you're wearing the bag, and then the pocket panel on the inside. Then everything else is made out of that main exterior fabric. But if you have a big fabric stash, like a lot of us probably do out there, you can choose to make it however you want. This would look even cute if you did one plain fabric like this for the flap of the bag. If you're into machine embroidery, you can embroider, monogram something here. If you have a lot of fabric scraps and you like a funkier look, you can patchwork this whole section here to really add more pops of color throughout. There's so many ways that you can customize this bag. I feel like it's just a blank canvas that's going to look great in a ton of different color combinations and fabric combos, okay? So 2 fabrics, like you see here. Just make sure that you like the way that one fabric looks as the flap over the other. Aside from that, you're golden, okay? Now, what else was I going to mention on here? Yes, so there's some really cool techniques in this bag in the way that it's going to come together. I think y'all will really enjoy it, and again, there's no fancy hardware, no zippers, no nothing like that. Just 2 fabrics and the interfacing and that little chunk of hook and loop tape. So I'm looking forward to making more of these. My daughter already said she wants me to make her one with some navy blue and white, and I don't have fabrics like that in my stash, so we're going to have to buy something to make her one for school. So that will be super cute. But this is the one that we made at the retreat in May in my mini bag sewing retreat, and all the retreaters really enjoyed making it. Okay. JC's asking, do you match the interfacing used on the purse with the strap? I do. Whatever interfacing I used on the bag, I use in the strap. Now, it's going to be up to you, because say you're working with maybe like a cotton canvas fabric that has a little bit more body already, you may not want to add a fusible fleece or fusible batting to the strap, and instead you can use something more lightweight like our cotton woven fusible interfacing that is often used for bag linings. Okay, this is just a cotton fabric that has fusible on one side and it's more lightweight. So a part of making bags is keeping in mind what is the finished weight or shape or structure that you want. And so you choose your interfacings accordingly. If I want something plush and thick, then I'm going to go with a bulkier fusible fleece or even a foam interfacing. So those of you that maybe have your own established technique on how you like to make your shoulder straps for bags using a foam interfacing, if you have the foam interfacing, you can introduce that here too. We're just going to be using 2 fabrics and 1 fusible fleece or fusible batting product. Super simple, straightforward, and I think you're going to be really happy with the way that it comes out. Okay, now let's talk, because I wanted to do a little demo here of some different fusible battings and products, so that maybe you have some in your stash, maybe you don't, but maybe this is going to be the perfect project and class for you to sign up to try them out. Okay, so here I have 4 different interfacings that are fusible, or 5 with the cotton woven fusible that I just talked about. And if you've never signed up for any of my courses, if you maybe want to dabble in something, I think this would be a great class to sign up for, or maybe try out some of my bag making tutorials on YouTube. They usually feature some type of interfacing, and you'll learn some tips and tricks on how to work with it in that, you know, if you want to keep stepping up and making things like this. A little sip of water. I actually, when I was pulling out these interfacings, I had pulled out, I'm not going to talk about it now because it's not a fusible product, but an insulated fleece, and I thought, oh my gosh, this would look so cute to make it out of insulated fleece, and you can use it as your lunch bag for work, right? Can you imagine a water bottle in here? You can put your utensils in one of the little pockets. You can put like those bento box containers in here and have it be insulated. Although it's not fully super tight sealed, I think that this would be great, you know, for a couple of hours of holding it in there. You can even tie a knot here and slip it under your desk. That would help you close up the area here to keep more of that, the cool or the warm, right, of the lunch inside. I mean, that would be so, so cute, I think. And then, you know, you're going to walk out, go eat with some coworkers, just take it over your shoulder and you're ready to go. So that was just another idea that I had too. All right. Thank you, Tracy. Tracy says, click the thumbs up, y'all. Yes, if you're getting some tips from this, or you're excited about this course, or trying your hand at this pattern, definitely give this video a thumbs up. Thank you. And Renee says she just ordered the cute t-shirt. Awesome. Post pictures if y'all wear it. I love to see it. All right. Let's see. Let me make sure real quick that I'm not missing any other question right here. Oh, Zena was asking a quick question about the bag, and she says, Vanessa, are you able to use different materials like cork or vinyl for these bags? So that's a great quick question there, Zena, and I will just say yes, absolutely yes. Usually, if the bag is super small or it features a lot of curves or funky shapes and corners or really bulky intersections, I would likely tell you no, I would stay away from it. But on something like this, because it has such a boxy basic shape, I mean, the cork, the vinyl can go anywhere. I probably wouldn't make it out of cork just because it's so big and cork is so expensive and you're going to be using big pieces. But this flap right here, Zena, would be the perfect place and the perfect canvas for you to feature a smaller chunk of a vinyl, a faux leather, or a cork fabric. As you can see, this sample here was made with soft vinyl. So this soft vinyl was quilted, and it still has the same fusible batting on the inside, and then I just lined the inside of the flap with the cotton fabric. So you can choose to have it be vinyl on this side as well. If I did cork, because it is a little bit thicker than this, I would probably just do the cork on the outside like I did the soft vinyl and keep the cotton fabric underneath. But if you're working with a lighter fabric, then you can feel free to do it for both, okay? But you know, since I had the pocket fabric here, that contrast, I kept that lining, of course, and I had enough fabric of that, right? So I did go ahead and quilt it, and you can choose to quilt the flap or not. It's up to you. This one, because the soft vinyl gives such great texture to the finished panel, I did choose to do some cross hatching at 1.5 inches apart. I just did diagonal lines in both directions and quilted it before making the flap. But look how pretty that looks, how iridescent and cute. Really, really pretty, okay? All right. Oh, and Zena says for the entire bag. Yeah, if it's soft vinyl, I mean, you could do cork for the whole thing. If you have a big chunk of cork and you want to use it all up, you can definitely make it for the whole bag. Yeah, it has such a basic shape. Any of those specialty fabrics are going to work fine. You know, it would even look cool, I think, in those funky clear vinyls. Like the clear ones that have like little designs and motifs on them, you could totally make the bag out of that. Only thing is, obviously, you'll have some, you know, you'll be able to see the pocket, the pocket panel if you do clear and clear all the way through, unless the pocket was also a clear funky vinyl, but you'd be able to see through the whole bag. That can be actually kind of cool, I think. All right. Let's keep scrolling through my chat here, see what other questions I have. Okay, yeah, you're welcome, Zena, no problem. Oh, great. Gladys says, I just ordered both. Yes, thank you. And Tracy says the flap is great for embroidery too. Absolutely. So quilted, not quilted, machine embroidery. And I was saying, I think last week I talked about if you have like a Cricut or one of these electronic cutting machines and you do stuff with heat transfer vinyl, you could do some really, really cute stuff here. You know, if you're using this bag for a specific event, you can make it so that the flap features something funky, some little sayings, you know, like those little sayings that people be having on their t-shirts. I think on that bag it would look great as well. Okay, so let's talk about the fusibles now. I pulled this little piece. This was deep, deep, deep in my stash. And I want to say it's a Pellon, some type of a fusible fleece, because I don't have anything else of this, and this thing must be maybe 10 years old. But it's fusible, and I can tell it's fusible on both sides. If we turn it this way, can you see how plush that is? It's like plump, okay? When you are considering a fusible fleece or fusible batting product to give shape to a project, and in this case we're talking about bags specifically, you don't only want to look at the loft of the product itself. Okay, whether it is one-side fusible or double-sided fusible will also affect, because what is the fusible? It's glue, right? And we know that when we glue something together, it makes it stiffer. When that glue dries up, it stiffens up, right? Even if we're adding two pieces, like say you're cutting stuff out like we did in school when we were kids, and you glued it together with a liquid glue, you know, after it dries, it's like stiff where the glue is at, because that glue is not going anywhere, right? You're adding the glue to the weight of both the fabric and the fusible batting as well, so keep that in mind. It's always going to end up a little bit stiffer, a little bit more rigid if it is a fusible product where that glue is fusing to the fabric, okay? Then this one here is that Bosal Duet Fuse. I don't know, they changed the number, but it's the same product, like Duet Fuse or Duet Fuse 2. This is two-sided, and we're actually all out of this right now. So I put my Amazon affiliate link, I think, for y'all, so you can find some of this. When we get it restocked, obviously we'll add it back in. But you can see how this is a little bit, I'm holding it here, and look how stiff it is all the way across. This has a little bit more body. It's not quite as plush, but it is more dense, I would say. Stiffer, and it is a double-sided fusible product. This stuff is great for placemats. I've done mini wall hangings, like mini quilt wall hangings, because when you fuse the backing fabric and the quilt block to the front, it just stays like crisp and flat. I wouldn't use it probably for like a quilt that you want to drape over your body and keep you warm, but for projects where you just want it to lie flat and stay fused and just look crisp, this is it. With a little bit of that plushiness, right, of still the batting feel. So that's the Bosal Duet Fuse 2 or Duet Fuse. And then this is probably a product that I use the most. This is the Bosal Light Fusible Batting, and I've linked with my Amazon affiliate link to this in the description box below, because by the time I sent the email and we went live today, I think we were sold out already. We stay restocking this and we sell out all the time because I use it in so many of my bag projects, especially on the smaller ones, because you still want to add a little bit of body, quick work of it when we fuse it, because it is a one-sided fusible product, and you don't have to quilt the stuff if you're using it because it is a fusible product, but you can see how sheer it is. You can kind of see my hand right through it. One side just feels like a really thin polyester batting. The other side is scratchy because it has the adhesive, okay? So again, although this is, look how drapey this is. It's nice and lightweight, still has the drape. You're going to add that added little softness and plushness, I would say, of having a batting in there, but it's going to sit a little bit stiffer in the finished product because it is a fusible. So remember, we always have to consider that glue in there, okay? All right, Marissa says, I've been waiting for a bag that spoke to me, and this is it. I signed up and got the pattern. So excited, Vanessa. You're the best teacher. Thank you, Marissa. I can't wait to see what cool fabrics you choose to make it in. That's going to be awesome. Kay is asking, was this part of one of the sets or just an individual course? Yeah, I have not taught this class before, aside from my May sewing retreat. So all my bag clubs and individual classes, I haven't taught it yet. This is the pre-sale for the new class on it, okay? So, okay, then the last product I have here, and I just wanted to show something that kind of is completely opposite of what these guys are. You've seen the battings, the plush stuff, the soft and all that. This is going to be something completely different that I still use in some projects, but I wanted to share it with you so you know like what projects to use this in and not to use this in, okay? This, and I'm going to, can y'all hear that? See how it rips? It's like a paper, okay? This is Bosal Durafuse. This is a fusible product, but it is a crisp, non-woven, paper-like fusible product. One side is a little bit more matte. The shinier side here is the fusible side. This stuff, when you fuse it to fabric, turns your fabric into like cardstock fabric. I mean, it's just flat paper, okay? So because it's a synthetic that's paper-like, it's really thin, there's no softness or plushness to this. It's not like any of these fusible battings. Not at all, okay? You cannot say, well, she's using a fusible, this is fusible, let me use it. That's not how we interchange interfacings in projects, okay? So be very careful. You want to look at the characteristics of the specific fusible product to make sure that that's what you're wanting to add to your fabric so you get the finished look of the bag that you need or want, okay? So this is papery, and it is like paper. I mean, it rips like paper and everything. You can't do that with that fabric, with the fusible batting ones, okay? So this is not what you want. This is great for certain projects. If you know my zip pocket notebook, we use the Durafuse to line the back side of the pockets so that they're nice, flat, and crisp, but they have some good body to them. It's not a place in a project where I necessarily want to add some plushness or loft to anything, okay? So in those instances, I would use something like this. But the fusible battings, again, Bosal light fusible batting, you can pretty much see through it. It's nice and drapey, great fusible product, awesome for bags. This one is a little bit stiffer. You see, look how that stays. Like it just has more body, so it just, this is the Bosal Duet Fuse 2. Another great fusible product, and these two again are two different lofts, but they will both work beautifully to make this project, okay? Obviously, the lighter you go on the weight of the fusible batting, the softer and the kind of like the smushier the bag will be. For a more rigid shape, you want to use a fusible that's a little bit thicker, okay? And this one, too, this one is more plush than all those. I want to say this is like a, I'm not sure, like a Thermolam Plus or something. I haven't used this in a long time. But I have my iron kicked on, and I want to share with you some fusing tips for these types of fusible products, okay? So I just have some little 10-inch squares here. And I want to do the two main ones. For those of you that are watching, maybe you can dig through your stash and see if you're signing up for the pre-sale of the Chunky Wee Bag course that I'm teaching, featuring the Chunky Wee Bag pattern by Hunter's Design Studio. Remember, the pattern has to be purchased separately. We do have some in stock right now, and then you purchase the course separately, which is $10 off right now, pre-sale, okay? Just for the next 48 hours, well, a little bit more than 48 hours, I guess. Friday night, in 2 days, if you're watching us live, the course price is going back up to the regular price. Okay, so I'm going to take my fabric piece, and this is usually what I do. If you've signed up for my classes online, you know that I often will cut out the fabrics to size and then place them on top of whatever the interfacing is that I need to use, and then cut around it like a template, because it would just take way too much time. If we're using rulers and a rotary cutter to cut the fabric, and then I go in with rulers and a rotary cutter to cut the interfacing, it's going to take you forever to cut, and we already know cutting out our pieces takes forever anyways. So once you have been precise and accurate in cutting your fabrics, I like to position it on top of the interfacing, and you could use rulers here, but you know, y'all, I love my rotary cutter. I just wing everything. And so then I cut it right along the side. Make sure you don't hack at your fabric so that it matches. And if you noticed, well, you probably can't tell from there because it's all white on white here, but I position the fabric on top of the scratchy side of my interfacing because I don't want to have to then be flipping things over or have it going the wrong way. As I cut it, I know I can just set it aside, and in this exact orientation and position, it is ready to fuse because the scratchy side is touching the wrong side of my fabric, and that's how you want it for a fusible. Okay, so that's one. Let's grab the other fusible product here, the Duet Fuse. And because this one is a double-sided fusible product, it's not really going to matter, right, which side I put it on first. So I'm going to put this here. And I want to say that rotary cutter needs a new blade. We'll cut around it. And what I want y'all to see after, we're going to talk about fusing these into place, and then I want you to see the difference between the two, okay? Nancy says, I'm late. Sorry if you answered this. What's the difference between woven and non-woven interfacing? So the woven is usually going to be a cotton-based, like a cotton fabric, because it is woven. You have the two directions, right? The crosswise grain and the lengthwise grain, or the warp and the weft, like you would on a woven anything. And so the non-woven, usually I see it when it's a synthetic product that's not actually woven. Sometimes it's like needle punched, or they somehow or another, in another way, put the material or the fiber that the product is made of together, okay? So it's not necessarily like a cotton woven fusible interfacing where this is muslin, basically like a thin cotton fabric, and I can see the threads going in the two directions, all right? Hi, Jamie. Thanks for tuning in. Oh, Claudia says, I purchased the class. Awesome. And Sarah says, could you use Insole Bright? Absolutely. That would work out great, I think, in this project. Really, really good. Okay. Thank you, Marcia. She says, great information. So let's get these up here and let's talk about fusing now. So a lot of different ways to fuse. A couple tips. The first thing is going to be read the packaging, okay? Because the manufacturer is going to tell you how they recommend you fuse that product. Some of them, and just to give you an example, some of them will say require steam. Some of them will say to place a damp towel over top of it like this and then press the iron through so that dampness of the cloth goes through and helps you fuse. Read the instructions first, and then of course play around with it to find what technique works best for you. I've been using a lot of these products for, almost 2 decades, and so this is how I like to teach it for these different ones. And I'll show you some do's and don'ts. Okay. Sometimes people will say, oh, I hate working with fusible products because they never stick. So this is where you want to tune in and start watching, because it could not stick for a few different reasons. The first reason, and the most common one I see, is that your iron is not hot enough. A lot of just like home basic sewing machines. I'm so used to saying, when I say home, I say sewing machine. A lot of basic home irons are not going to get hot enough for some of these products, okay? So either get another iron, or you're just going to kind of have to sit there longer and longer, and definitely make sure that you're not fusing at the point where the iron is getting ready to shut off, or it's shutting off as the temperature goes down, or on the crank up either. You want to make sure that it is at peak heat so that you can get this thing fused into place. But again, depending on the product, that can vary slightly. So if I just go in here with the heat of this iron, and my iron, and I have a link to this one, this is like my new favorite iron for sewists and quilters. Yes, it has auto shut off. Yes, we know we hate it. What are we going to do? It's there for safety, right? But it gets so hot. And I think I did an episode of Whip Wednesday. Y'all remember when I was going in with my heat gun, my heat thermometer thing, telling you the temperature? It was upwards of 400 degrees. This sucker is getting hot, okay? So be careful, but check out my affiliate link in the chat box below if you need a new iron. This one's less than 50 bucks. It's like 40-some dollars. Okay, so this is the Duet fuse. I can tell by how crisp and stiff it is. And I'm just going in here with the heat. There's no steam. I do not put water in my home iron because we have a well here and we have hard water. I ain't trying to deal with all that, spit, sputter stuff coming out. So if I'm just using heat on here, first thing is you notice that I'm pressing it from the cotton side, the fabric side that can handle the heat. I'm not hitting this like this. You're going to fuse this to your iron, okay? And even if this side is not fusible, you're going to wreck your iron. It's going to melt onto your iron. So don't do that. Always do it from the cotton side. So this, notice, if I come in here, and this is still warm, if I come in here and try to peel, I can barely grab it because it's already fused. So now if I peel up a corner, couple things. If you positioned it wrong, or you're pressing and you see like a little bubble or a pucker and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I wrecked it, while it's still warm, just peel it back up. If you can still feel the scratchiness here, that means that there's still some adhesive and it's going to work just fine. But you can see how this is stuck. And I didn't even have to use any moisture. But it's because the iron was so hot, okay? If you have a lower temp iron, hit it with the steam and kind of just keep working it till the whole thing fuses down into place, all right? So again, I can fuse this because my iron is so hot. Okay, and I go all the way out to the edges. Just be careful that you didn't kind of cut around your fabric template piece, leaving yourself an extra bit of interfacing, because that can cause a problem since that's still going to be exposed when you hit it with your iron, okay? But here's one cool thing about this product. You did hear me say that it's double-sided fusible, right? Well, you see that I have cotton fabric here, and so this side is fusible. This side has fused nicely to the fabric, but I'm not having any issues with the other side fusing to my ironing board, right? And does anybody want to take a wild guess on why that is? Even though I have not moved from here, I'm still hitting it with this super high heat. It's at the cotton setting. And I'm going to wait a little just to see if anybody wants to take a guess. Okay? This is why I press this product like this. Okay? For this. Nancy says, I love that iron. Awesome. So Pat says, if the one is double-sided fusible, won't you need fabric on the other side? So that's exactly what we're talking about here. You don't have to. Just because it is a double-sided fusible doesn't mean that we have to fuse it to something, right? I can just fuse my exterior fabric to the one and keep going, construct my whole bag, and then when you get to the end, if it is a fusible product that's double-sided like this one, guess what you can do? Once the whole bag is done, you can come in here and press it like this to fuse that lining fabric to that second side, which is then going to be back here, like behind this panel. So don't worry about having to put fabric behind it before you start constructing your steps. You don't have to. Okay, at the end, and actually with a double-sided fusible like this, that would really help you get a nice crisp finish because you can then hit it here with the heat and fuse your lining panel really good and down so that you know it will stay down inside the bag. Okay, so Tracy says, I was just wondering why. Yes, Jamie, you got it. She says, not enough moisture. So even if this product tells me I need steam, if I know I'm not putting fabric here, I ain't going to even look at the steam. I don't want any steam near me, okay? And I'll show you. If I start steaming it and you really pump it full of water and steam, that steam is going to go through and it's going to stick to your board. And I'm hoping it doesn't really happen here. But it can, okay? And so, again, the heat of the iron on some of these products will work just fine. I would just stay away from adding too much moisture. On a single-sided fusible, go for it, right? You know it's not going to fuse on the other side. Now, you see, I have to peel it off. It's sticking a little, not too much, but it did stick. And then when I pass my hand here, I feel the little scratchy bits. So that tells me that this fused to here, and when I peeled it off, the adhesive is actually staying on my mat, on my ironing board, which is even worse, right? Because then I don't want to come and work on another project and then hit this like that, or have a project here and go like this, and now I'm going to swipe across the adhesive part. You're going to gum up your iron, okay? So again, if you have a double-sided fusible product, don't steam it. Just make sure that iron is nice and hot at a cotton setting. And at least these Bosal products can handle it just fine, okay? And look, y'all can see that that is way stiffer than just a little 10-inch square of fabric. This similar fabric, right? Look how drapey fabric by itself, and look at this with the Duet Fuse. Look how crisp. Can you imagine a placemat, a table cover, a tabletop, I mean not table cover, a placemat, a table runner, a table topper, quilted projects. This stuff is amazing, and it's not super thick. It's just that adhesive really helps give it that shape, okay? So that is on the Duet Fuse, and some tips about that. Again, don't hit it with the steam. Now, let's talk about the Bosal Light Fusible Batting. Again, fabric by itself. And we don't even really consider quilt cotton that drapey. But when you're looking at it like this compared to having some fusible product added to it, I mean, it's two totally different things, which is great, right? We're making a bag. We want to have some structure and still feature the cute quilting cotton prints. All right, so this one again, before you press, just make sure that it's fusible side going up so that it's touching the wrong side of your fabric. And then on this one, again, you can hit it with just the heat of the iron. Some products require the moisture to adhere to the fabric, okay? If I just press it a little like that, I know that, see, in some spots it kind of took, and you can kind of go around the edges like this also. But one thing that I tend to do, and I always recommend, especially for beginners to using fusible products and stuff, is to let the fabric, after you fuse it or you think you fused it, let it sit. Let that adhesive reconstitute itself as it cools, and then go in and check to make sure that it's adhered, right? Because the same way I mentioned, if you mess up somewhere, while it's warm, you can peel it back. While it's warm, you can still peel it back. So if you're not trying to peel it back, let it cool, okay? Don't let it be warm. So we're going in here, and this is just the way I do it because, like I said, we have hard water here. We're on a well, and I'm not going to add water to my iron itself, even though it is a steam iron. But I use a spray mist bottle that we carry in our shop and just mist the fabric over top like this to add the moisture, and then when I come in with the heat of the dry iron, the two combined create the steam. So if something says it needs to be steamed, likely, if it can handle the heat of an iron, you can do this as well, if you're like me and don't want to add water to your iron and all that, okay? So now I'm just kind of pressing in the different areas, and you can touch it and see, is it still wet, is it still damp, and work your way around the entire piece like this, making sure that you see some steam. Then you know, hey, your iron is hot enough, it's creating the steam. That was the whole purpose, okay? Crochet Crazy says, well, that was one of those, I was today years old when I learned. That's funny. Y'all know I love sharing little tips. I have a lot of years of experience doing this kind of stuff, experimenting and teaching, so I try to help y'all avoid the mess ups, you know? You know how people say something and they're like, ask me how I know. Well, ask me how I know. I know all the things of this because I've done them all. All right. Yes, and Patty says misting works better than the steam from the iron anyway. I agree. And it just gives me kind of I have a little bit more control. I feel like if I see that there's like a bubbly spot right in the middle, I can really dampen it up with the spray bottle and just focus it right then and there without having all that stuff, you know, spray out in other directions. All right, so now we're gonna let it cool a little bit. Remember, when you have the heat on there, the glue is gluey. It's melty. It's melting so that it can stick to the fabric. So I don't want to be pulling up on stuff when it's still in that liquid state. When I let it set and let it cool down, then we'll go in and check it. And you see how that stuck a little bit? That's from this stuff that was on there before. from steaming my Duet Fuse 2, don't do it. All right. So this is cooling off nicely, and I picked it up, but I haven't started peeling off anything until I make sure that it's fully cool. And so now you can see again comparing a piece of cotton fabric with the fabric fused to the light fusible batting. This just is such a great weight for so many projects, y'all. I use the Bozo Light Fusible for so many things. It's like just enough body, no need to quilt, and still has even some drapiness to it. Now, just by touching it here, I can tell this side needs more. Yep, see how it's lifting up here? And so this is something that, like, even if you think you're hitting with an iron everywhere, a lot of times people will be like, oh, I hate those fusible battings because they don't stick. Well, if I touch here, it's brand new. Like, it doesn't even feel like I've melted even slightly the adhesive. It's super scratchy. So I know that based on whatever I was doing, maybe I moved too fast around that area while the iron was hot enough. So you have to check it. It doesn't matter how big or how small the piece is. Y'all got to check it, because the last thing you want is to work your way through all the construction steps. You get to the end, look at my bag, and then you're like, oh, this is not fully stuck here. But the good part about that, about using a fusible product, is that even if you do get to the end and it kind of peels off on you in some areas, you can refuse it. Just make sure you hit it with that water, hit it with the iron, and give it time for it to completely melt and stick, okay? So don't freak out if you get to the end of a bag or a wallet project or something and your fusible hasn't melted. Maybe you didn't have enough moisture to create the steam. Maybe your iron didn't get hot enough. So, you know, there's different little things that we got to troubleshoot, y'all. Windless Originals is asking, do you ever use a clapper with fusible materials? So I do sometimes. And then I definitely do when we're like folding over a hem or creasing something, or say I'm using two fused panels and I'm pressing the seam open or something. I'll hit it with the clapper there. Let me grab my clapper just in case nobody knows what it is. I mean, I'm sure all of y'all that watch me know this already, but a wooden tailor's clapper, it's just a hardwood that when you fold over a hem, a seam, you're pressing something open, you set it on top of the seam and it just helps set it really nice and flat. Something about the wood absorbing the moisture with the weight of it and the heat. You know, like, it just is a game changer for seams, okay? But if I have it right there handy, I'll kind of go like this quick, and sometimes that helps to even cool it off quicker. And the weight, of course, this one's not that heavy, but it's still a little bit more weight than no weight at all, right? While it's still melty, to help those two layers stick together. All right. Someone's asking, Inquisitive says, does anyone in the chat know what to do if you get the glue on the ironing board? Yes, a couple of tips. One, change the ironing board cover. These are mini ironing boards that I make myself. I'm not even gonna, well, I'll go ahead and show y'all so you can see how it actually is. This is just fabric with multiple layers of batting. wrapped around, and I staple gun it. I just fold it raw edge and all, and I just staple gun it over. This was the cover of the last time that got burnt up. I didn't even bother to take it off. You can just put another layer on top. Why not, right? You have another layer of cotton there. And these are some boards. I think I found these at Walmart maybe 4 years ago. It's just like a paneling of just raw wood like that. And then I just cover it over to kind of give it a more sturdier surface. And I have a free video tutorial on YouTube for smaller ones, because when I travel sometimes, it's called my mini DIY ironing board. If you do a YouTube search for Crafty Gemini mini ironing board, you'll see it. And it's the same idea, just depends on the board that you're using. These are a little bit bigger, okay? But one, recover it if you wreck the cover on it. Or two, here's another tip. The same way that when I was pressing this here and I hit it with the mist bottle and we fused the double-sided to this, remember I said I could feel the little crumbly bits of the adhesive on here? Well, all you got to do is take a scrap piece of cotton fabric, place it on top of the area, and then hit it with the iron like this. And while it's still a little warm, peel up. And you'll start to see that you'll grab the bits of adhesive from here onto the other fabric. Okay, I've done that before too. Now, if it's a huge error and you've completely wrecked it, yeah, your best bet is going to be just to replace it, okay? But you can add more fabric to it, again, basically like sandwiching it, and peel it up, okay, to get little bits like how I had there off. All right, let's see. Yep, you're welcome, no problem. Okay, so we have this one, we have this one. You probably can't tell just by looking at it, but I can tell by feeling it that, because I don't even remember what I fused to what, but this is the light fusible batting. It's way looser, drapier. Do you see that? Let's look at the body of that and compare to this. See if I can do them both at the same time. One is definitely crisper. It's hard because my hand is in the way. There you go. You see how one has more movement than the other? It's just like wiggles back and forth, more like back and forth like an S shape, and this one is kind of just flaps in the wind, like a flag. Okay, so this is the stiffer one, the Duet Fuse 2. This is the Bozo Light Fusible Batting. It's not that big of a difference. You will still be able to make any of these any of the bag sizes with these. Again, I will mention though, for more structure, if you decide to make the large one, this is the medium with the Duet Fuse 2, okay? If you go with the large size, I would go with the Duet Fuse 2. The bigger the project, and this applies to bags in general, usually the bigger the project and the more structure it has, the thicker you want the insides to be, okay? If you have a large toe and you use something as flimsy as, say, a light fusible batting, that toe is not gonna stand up on its own and it's just gonna like melt away, right? Because it's so soft compared to the size that it is. So this one looks great, the medium size, which is cool because it's a good enough size that either of those light fusible battings or the double-sided fusible batting will work. But if you are going bigger, go with something thicker so you have a little bit more shape and body in the bag. Okay, so that is that. And then Carol's asking, can you tell me the name and brand of that fuse again? So these are all Bozo products that we sell in our shop. I think we're out of stock right now, both of them. So the links to my Amazon affiliate link are in the description box below. If you click on it, it tells you everything. Bozo Light Fusible Batting and Bozo Duet Fuse. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, Zena says, I never throw away my old ironing board covers. I leave them on and get a new one for extra padding. That's exactly right. So great tip there. Okay, let me see. Okay, good. So let me grab my little list here because I think that was it. We talked about the spray with the hot iron, the steam iron, the dry heat. Great, we did all of that. Good. So just another last little plug here is for my class. I hope y'all learned some tips there working with fusible products. And if you've kind of been shying away from working with fusible battings, don't. Hopefully today's episode gave you some tips and gave you a little bit of confidence so that you can try out even a small little project with some fusible batting. And this is the bag that I'm teaching next. The course is an online digital course. All the video lessons will go live on Saturday. So if you're signing up now, it's a pre-sale, okay? The pre-sale is $10 off the regular price. And then Saturday at noon Eastern Daylight Savings Time, all the video lessons will be up and ready for you to make it. The pattern is the Chunky Weave Bag pattern by Hunter's Design Studio. It is not a Crafty Gemini pattern. I'm just teaching the pattern. There's a lot of pages. And you know how written patterns, sometimes people that are used to visual instruction, they get a little confused trying to follow just written instructions all the time. So I'm offering a course on this that you can sign up for, but you will need to purchase the hard copy sewing pattern separately because it's not mine. We have them in stock. And we will keep restocking them. So don't worry about that running out. If you sign up for the class and then think, oh no, I don't have the pattern, we got you. We'll keep restocking them. So you need the pattern and then the course if you want to sign up for my step-by-step video lessons, okay? It's 3 sizes, so 1 pattern, and you'll be able to make bags and even sell them at craft fairs and stuff like that in different sizes for different people. This is the small, which I love. I need to make myself another one. Play around with some different fabrics, maybe some soccer prints or basketball prints for games to go, right? There's 1 pocket panel inside on the small. There's 2 pocket panels on the medium and large. Velcro that I used here or some other type of hook and loop tape is the closure that we'll be using. Real simple. You can work with a variety of fabrics. The rest of them are cotton. This one features a soft vinyl flap that was quilted. There you can see the 2 pocket panels on this side and this side. You can fit a ton of stuff in here, okay? And this is the medium. Again, the large is going to be 2 inches taller and 2 inches wider, but with the same depth here as this one. So if that's something that you want to do, check it out. Check out the class. I hope that you'll sign up for it and that I will see y'all in there. All right. So thanks again, everybody, for tuning in to this episode of WIP Wednesday. Leave me any questions you have in the comments below, and I will try to answer them when I get a chance. Okay. Thanks again for tuning in and enjoy the rest of your week, everybody. Bye.